We spend our lives in a state of exhaustion, climbing over one another to reach a very specific set of modern finish lines. We chase standards of beauty, a rigid definition of goodness, and a singular vision of success. The Tao Te Ching, an ancient Chinese philosophical text, proposes that these pursuits contain a built-in trap. It suggests that the moment a society defines beauty, it creates the category of ugliness. By establishing what it means to be good, it gives form and name to evil. When a culture fixes its gaze on one narrow definition of success, it generates a corresponding volume of failure. You cannot have a top 1% without the mathematical necessity of the 99% beneath them. Our habit of labeling the world creates the friction we are trying to escape. The more weight we give to the positive category, the more gravity we grant to its negative counterpart. This duality functions as an inescapable physical law, much like gravity or thermodynamics. This diagram represents a system before human judgment is applied. It is a unified space where no distinctions exist. A single judgment functions like a line drawn through the center. The second we define high, we create low. The two appear simultaneously. These zones are joined at the root. If we attempt to isolate the above by deleting the below, the dividing line loses its meaning and the entire structure collapses. The positive state vanishes with it. Every human preference functions like this line. We are trapped in a binary framework where the negative state is a mathematical requirement for the positive state to exist. The Taoists call this phenomenon shang-shang, or mutual arising. This is the principle that opposing states do not just coincide, they give birth to each other. In this framework, being and non-being define one another. Long only exists in the presence of short. A melody requires both the vibration of sound and the silence between the notes to be heard. We often treat these opposites as hostile forces locked in a war where one must eventually defeat the other. Shang-shang suggests they are collaborators. The difficult validates the easy. The behind contextualizes the front. They complete the system's integrity. Trying to eradicate one half of a dual system is an impossible expenditure of energy. The universe functions as a self-balancing ecosystem rather than a conquest. If every action triggers an equal and opposite reaction, every attempt to change the world risks fueling the very state we want to avoid. Think of it as a geometric seesaw. When we drop the weight of aggressive effort onto one side to force a specific result, the system reacts. The force of our push carries over the fulcrum and kicks the opposite side into the air. As we push harder to overcome this resistance, the tension on the fulcrum compounds. Eventually, the structural limit is reached, and the entire system fractures under the weight of the force we applied. Curious, this creates a paradox. If pushing harder only increases the tension and strengthens the opposite reaction, how can we move at all without the system eventually breaking? Because force creates its own resistance, the only way to navigate a dualistic system without triggering a counter-reaction is to stop using force as a primary tool. The Taoist sage operates through a method of teaching without words and acting without intervening. This is the concept of wu wei, or effortless action. It describes a state where an individual navigates a situation by following its natural contours, rather than imposing a personal will upon it. Instead of generating new friction, you align your movements with the momentum already present in the environment. You are using the energy of the system to reach your destination. Water demonstrates this mechanic. It does not exert force to break the jagged rock in its path. By adapting to the obstacle's shape, the water maintains its velocity and continues downstream without losing energy to the collision. By minimizing energy expenditure and avoiding direct opposition, you achieve the highest possible output. You are simply moving with the cosmic current. This leads to the sage's final practice, creating immense value but refusing to own the result. This involves acting purely for the sake of the work, without relying on a specific outcome or seeking external validation. Claiming credit for an achievement creates a boundary. It isolates the work, tying its lifespan to the reputation and ego of a single person. This ownership creates a target for the next reaction in the cycle of opposites. When work is performed without the need for credit, it loses its artificial boundaries. It becomes integrated into the landscape, much like a mountain or a forest, becoming a permanent part of the environment. By letting go of the need for labels and ownership, your impact merges with the natural flow of the world. Because you never claimed a position, you can never be displaced from it.